Please give a warm welcome to Natasha Trethewey.
Good evening. When I was 19 years old, my mother was murdered, gunned down outside her home by her then ex-husband, a troubled Vietnam veteran who had been my stepfather for 10 difficult years, and from whom we had managed to escape for one glorious year. She was only 40 years old. 2 decades later, when I was 40 years old, I was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for a book of poems dedicated to her memory. I'm going to read a poem now that contends what it means to live in the aftermath of trauma and such loss, and responds to the kinds of uninformed and often insensitive things that people say about victims of domestic violence. This is Imperatives for Carrying On in the Aftermath. Do not hang your head or clench your fists when even your friend, after hearing the story, says, "My mother would never put up with that." Fight the urge to rattle off statistics that, more often, a woman who chooses to leave is then murdered. The 100th time your father says, "But she hated violence. Why would she marry a guy like that?" Don't waste your breath explaining again how abusers wait, are patient, that they don't beat you on the first date, sometimes not even the first few years of a marriage. Keep an impassive face whenever you hear, "Stand by your man," and let go your rage when you recall those words were advice given your mother. Try to forget the first trial before she was dead, when the charge was only attempted murder. Don't belabor the thinking or the sentence that allowed her ex-husband's release a year later, or the juror who said, "It's a domestic issue. They should work it out themselves." Just breathe when, after you read your poems about grief, a woman asks, "Do you think your mother was weak for men?" Learn to ignore subtext. Imagine a thought cloud above your head, dark and heavy, with the words you cannot say. Let silence rain down. Remember you were told by your famous professor that you should write about something else, unburden yourself of the death of your mother, and just pour your heart out in the poems. Ask yourself what's in your heart, that reliquary, blood locket and seed bed, and contend with what it means. The folk saying you learned from a Korean poet in Seoul, that one does not bury the mother's body in the ground, but in the chest. Or, like you carry her corpse on your back. Thank you.